Okay, so I just went over survivors of high-level programming, and it's the hardest thing to believe, it really is. The problem that society has is that this society and Western society, first of all, wants to believe that such evil doesn't exist. And if it does, it exists in other countries, and that it can be stopped, and it can be helped and fixed. Well, sometimes it can't. Also, they figure, well, if this is so awful and it's still going on, why doesn't somebody do something about it and fix it and get these people justice? Because the system is corrupt, and it needs to keep functioning with this system in place, which is one of the big reasons why they wanted to make sure that the people coming forward in the MK Ultra, you know, the advisory committee under Clinton, everything got stricken from the record, because they don't want you to know that people can be programmed. For all we know, I don't know how, I'm not a 9/11 expert, but if you're flying a plane into a building, if that is what happened, why are you doing this? Suicide bombers who are connected to these, you know, Muslim extremist groups, their program, the way they think and why they do the things they do, their motivations for suicides like that, are very similar to the mind control programming of people that are programmed under these secret programs and systems as, like I mentioned, spies and sex workers and blah, blah, blah. So, also lone shooters, a lot of the chaos in society and the bad things that happen are due to this system. You know, if you're going to be childish and naive and think that evil doesn't exist, you go ahead. There's no guilt in not being able to fix the presence of evil. Evil exists on this planet. The darker forces have always existed, and actually they have a place. You know, they've always been around, they've always had a place in the human world. Part of their purpose is to challenge you to define what you really believe and to choose your side, if you will, and to become strengthened and to see how much you really do believe in what is right and what is good and what is just. There's no getting rid of the dark forces on this planet. It's part of this planet. The problem is that when they start to believe that they can run everything, and that's what's happening now with the NWO, and the fact that they have the technologies available, like HAARP. If you know, Dr. Nick Begich, I'll put that down here as a link too, talks about it, HAARP and all that. You know, the world is supposed to be for the forces of light and of darkness, not all just for them. They've got a little bit too much power right now, and that's what a lot of us are fighting. And no, this isn't the end of the world. Like I've heard all these the end of the world. You just have to realize these things exist and look at it and say, what is my stance on this? If you don't want to deal with it, fine, that's on you. But don't go around being nasty to people and calling everyone a schizo or mentally ill just because they make claims. And that's one of the reasons that they drive people into homelessness too. They now have the homelessness completely vilified. And it's easy to drive someone who has no money into homelessness under being a target. And then, you know, we don't trust anyone who's a backpacker or a traveler or a homeless person because, you know, whatever you think. So this system tends to just treat people as expendable. You've seen a million movies in Hollywood about the Expendables and all that. Well, this exists, but it's covert and in the shadows. And basically, because this is a lot of pedophiles doing this, they think you're old by the time you're 29, even if you look like you're 20. The minute you get that first wrinkle, on the females especially, you're gone. A lot of people who are survivors of programming experience what's called suicide programming. And lot of people end up dying because of this. And a lot of people actually fight it, and a way to fight it and win is to go on the internet. A lot of people discover when they realize, that they're survivors, they go to the internet, there's other activists on there that are survivors too. You can get through it. What it seems like they're doing, however, in recent years is they're trying to take people and actually induce suicide programming, which is one of the reasons they might have chased people off from going to the advisory committee so they can continue the experimentation, because this would be parallel to what they were doing overtly. Remember I mentioned terrorists, their programming is a little bit similar with the whole, I'm not afraid to die for Allah, I'm not afraid to die for. They were trying to find out if they can behavior modify these terrorists, these Islamic extremists who are going to die for Allah and the cause, and make it so they would be normal members of capitalist society, Westerners. It seems that there was a parallel shadow program with a lot of people who were survivors of programming from that MK Ultra, those sub-projects, where they wanted to find out if they could. It seems like they induced suicide programming or grabbed people when they were going through suicide programming and sort of brought them through it, tried to decompartmentalize forced integration of compartments and personalities or whatever, and then turn around and use really nasty, almost psychosurgery kind of behavior modification, a lot of psychological abuse to try and make them neutralized normal members of society. And that seems like what has been going on, because I was given an email by someone who told me that they're trying to find out how programming breaks down.